The entire roster plays in the first game of the season. Last night, sorry we couldn't get to it. The thing is that I have we both have kids, and those kids are also playing sports. So I was watching basketball, and then I got home and had to watch more basketball, but then it was too late. So here we come. We're not going to skip it. We watched the game. We're going to talk about it. Arkansas defeats the Alcorn State Braves by a score of 93-59. This is Arkansas basketball recap. I'm Daniel Price. That's Jacob Price. Well, it's a good night or a really bad night when the whole roster plays.
Usually a good night, even no matter how bad it is. Maybe he would, but it feels like it's going to be a pretty quick recap, though.
How about this, though? The entire scholarship roster plays in the first half.
Yeah, I told Dan before we did this, for this first couple of podcasts, I need pictures with the guys' faces and names on it, because
I'm better at this part of it.
Yeah, I just have a bad mind for that until I get used to it. But there were guys coming out of there. I was like, oh yeah, I remember hearing about this guy. Who is this?
Yeah.
But again, that I don't know how much that game told you about your long-term prospects, but couldn't be much better.
No.
The scoring coming from everywhere, distributed all over the place.
Dude, if that team wasn't picked to win their league, I'd be like, man, maybe this team's just terrible, though. But they're not.
They actually scored decently, I felt, for the reason you can't really tell much is because this is one of those ones where the bodies really mattered a lot. They were so outmatched and couldn't match up physically to the length and athleticism of Arkansas.
They didn't have anyone to guard Brazile
or any of those guys. Every guy dude, if Brazile is going to sit down finally, and then guys like Fall and that other dude are coming off the bench, you're like, well, it's the same guy, just like a little younger. You know what I mean? And I don't know where Muss has this factory where he's finding these guys with these bodies where they have 7'7" wingspans, and they're all shoulders. They're thin, but they're tall, long, athletic. It looks like they took Kevin Durant's blood from a mosquito and then mixed it with a frog and cloned a bunch of kind of Kevin Durant guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, they were physically so outmatched that there was just really nothing they could do to keep us from scoring. But I actually did think, for as outmatched as they were, they did a decent job of scoring. They had some offensive firepower, and like I said, they got blown out from the jump, but they didn't. I didn't feel like they embarrassed themselves.
No. And of course, the last 10 minutes is sloppy, and it is what it is. Of course, what's interesting is that Muss says still, because this is how Muss is. Muss is getting teed up, and also, Brazile. I know that foul looked bad or whatever, but dude, don't run on the floor. I know it didn't matter, but there are games where that will matter. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But Muss in the post game, said that guys were, there were guys that were playing themselves into the rotation and guys that were playing themselves out of the rotation, and that is the thing. Even in those games where that last 10 minutes, it does matter, and I think the guys know that, but it did get pretty sloppy. But he's looking at that stuff for sure.
I think the one thing that I noticed watching the second game, I noticed it watching the first game too, but we'll see if, I don't know, there's no reason to think it won't continue, but for a group of guys that haven't played together that much, there's a level of confidence between each play. They look so like a team that's played together a lot. And
the ball movement is right now. Game one. And this might be, maybe I'm overstating this. I'm interested to know what you think. Looking at the exhibition game, and then game one, I think the ball movement right now on this team is better than it ever was last year.
Maybe so.
That ball is skipping, dude.
Yeah, they seem really unselfish, but also it is like a mixture of, we've got some guys that have that note in them. They'll pull, if it's late in the shot clock, they'll get a shot from anywhere. Battle being the one guy that jumps to mind, and Mark, and really even Ellis can go get one. And we really haven't had that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we've had where at least last year, I mean, we had it a little bit when we would have, like a guy like Barford or something where you're like, okay, it's late in the shot clock, find the man and he's going to jack one up, Note. But last year, it really, I felt like whenever we got under 10 seconds in the shot clock, started to panic because we didn't have a guy that can just catch the ball and just make his move.
And the best thing, you were like, where's Counsell? Get Counsell the ball. Maybe he can go get something.
You hope he can hit that 17-foot jump shot.
Yeah. The one thing that's for sure different about this team, I think, is this has got to be the most options Muss has had. I mean, this team is deeper than any team Muss has had, I would think. I mean, it certainly looks that way. Like, I mean, I kind of knew that on paper going in, but now actually watching them play, a couple of games, you're like, this rotation, because he is going to shorten that rotation. I mean, obviously, like, he's not going to play 12, 13 guys every game. That's not going to happen. This is a tougher job than in previous seasons. I mean, like, he's got a lot more options. And if you are needing a bucket, and I know it's early and they've only played a couple games and things will, you'll start to see different things, but it seems like you have more options to get that bucket.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, I feel like, I mean, you can tell a little bit that Battle is the kind of guy, and Mark probably too. There's a couple of them that are, although I would say those two mostly, like, they're probably going to have a couple of games where they get hot and they start really chucking it up there and put in. I mean, well, actually, Battle did have kind of one of those games. I mean, for as many minutes as were played, he scored pretty prolifically.
It was pretty efficient.
Yeah, I mean, he had 21, I think, and that's pretty good. But it does seem like Devo Davis, I mean, he's going to average like 5 points a game this year because he just doesn't need to score.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this real briefly, but yeah, it does seem like Devo came back, and Devo is going to be the leader of this team, and they're going to need him to be that. He's going to be holding people accountable. Of course, he's going to be playing defense, but they're not going to need Devo to take 14 shots a game, and which is great. I mean, because he spent all that time last year really improving, and that's still going to be great because you still want him to be able to have a more like an offensive game like that, but he's got a lot more options, and
and they don't need him really to point guard. No. I mean, even though we had Black last year, Black was such a large, and it's not that Black was slow, but Black, he imposed his will in a weird way for a point guard because of his size and how big his trunk was, but he wasn't break down the defense speed, you know what I mean? And so sometimes when Devo would have to take over the point guard, as far as if you need somebody to penetrate the defense and then kick to the corners and stuff. I mean, not that Black wasn't capable of that, but just Devo was a little bit more that guy. But now there's like, all the guys out there can do that. Not all, I mean, but like Ellis and Battle and Blocker when he comes in, and Mark, and there's so many guys that can do that. And he's just, if he wants to, Devo can just focus on defense for the most part. Yeah. I mean, at least as of now, it looks that way.
And then just take and make open shots.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to force anything.
Yeah. He'll just be able to do it when it comes to him, which looks like what he is doing. And that's going to be him, like, I mean, hitting that, hitting a 3-pointer when it's open, when they kick it to you, and driving when you get the defense lean in one direction, and he'll probably score between 5 and 7 points a game, and which is great that he doesn't have to have that pressure of needing to get 16.
Dude, how freaky is it when you cross half court and Devo creeps up on you with spread out wide, all low to the ground? Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, he's like, that would freak me out. Like, he is such a maniac, like, out there when he's doing that. Like, I watched these guards come across, and he's just like setting you up. His arms are everywhere, and he's I did notice this about, I thought the defense looked good. One thing they were doing a great job of is pressuring the ball so that once you get across half court, you have like 10 seconds. right? Like now you have, well, I mean, obviously you don't have 10 because you have a backcourt violation, but they're using like 9 seconds getting the ball up. And the whole point is like, we can play solid defense for another 10 seconds and make you take something bad. And that was working. And when you have guys like Devo and Mark who can pressure the ball like that, blocker, and even Brazile. I mean, did you see that play where that some dude like gets in there and tries to throw an alley oop and Brazile just says, let me just pluck that out of the sky.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is, I mean, to me, I think it looks, I mean, obviously Devo's so fast and stuff, but the amount of pressure and the way he gets way too close for, I look at him like, you can't guard anybody that close
from that far out.
They'll just go around you. There's too much space. But and a lot of times they do get around him because he's guarding fast point guards. But you can tell I mean, that's part of they're trying to speed him up and get him going, get that guard going downhill. And they have enough fast, rangy, jumpy, long guys that like they feel good about their ability to step in front of that, intimidated enough to, and a lot of time, most of the time you see the point guard, if he does get a step on Devo, dribble over to the side and then pull it back out and kick it. And it rarely, so maybe when we play really good teams, they'll have to back off a little bit because, maybe see some alley oops to some more athletic Kentucky players on a breakdown like that. But they weren't obviously not really worried about Brazile. Brazile had that backcourt, or that
back line was pretty solidified.
He wasn't too worried if somebody got around him, but I mean,
but they did that same ball pressure to Purdue. I mean, they extended it way out,
and that point guard was really good, and they did have a giant guy to dump it to.
Yeah,
but I mean, it also did create some that Purdue was able to make us pay for that a lot more. It was a lot more difficult to contain that point guard.
I still think that is, at least right now, his strategy is though to extend that pressure way out. How much one of my takeaways was you forget what a difference Brazile makes. Just if he's on the floor, like what a disastrous situation that is for the opposing team. Watching, you saw some at Purdue game, you see him, he looks 100%. Hell, I don't know what 100% healthy looks like, but he looked pretty healthy. And you do realize you're like, oh yeah, he got hurt, and man, like that makes a difference. Like that would have, like last year, like you give me Brazile last year, I don't know, man. Maybe nothing changes. UConn was pretty dang good.
It's hard to know. I mean,
but I think the regular season's different.
Yeah, for sure. I think he definitely would have helped the regular season. I mean, if you make it to the Elite Eight, it's hard to complain about that in any direction. But yeah, I mean, Brazile makes a big difference, but also being able to shoot the ball makes a huge difference too.
Did we have a game all of last season where we made 12 threes? I can't believe we did.
I don't know, but even just the mid range and the threat, like the way that defenses have to play you. It was, I mean, last year was was crazy, but it was so frustrating watching your team dribble the ball up and guys are all 4 feet behind the 3-point line. And it's like, now if you're Brazile, it's like, okay, well, we can guard Brazile if we can have all of our guys in the with their, 1 foot in the paint. And, when he's able to just roam around back there with all that space because everybody's chasing these shooters, like we've talked about that ad nauseum, but I mean, the ability to be able to knock down a shot is the difference between really putting pressure on a defensive rotation or not. If they can just kind of stay moderately in front of you and they want you to shoot, I mean, that's pretty easy defense to play.
Yeah,
Makes your team really guardable.
There's no doubt that the shooting is better.
I mean, like I said, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't change. But yeah, I mean, it looks like there's all kinds of guys that are more than, it's not that, I mean, they don't look like we have a bunch of Steph Currys, but it looks like, I mean, like what we've been complaining about, like, oh yeah, these are college basketball players. I mean, everyone, when I go up to the community center, every 8-year-old is shooting threes 4 foot behind the 3-point line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, how do you even have guys that can't shoot threes these days? Because I feel like everybody shoots threes, and that's how these guys look. They look like they're all, if you're going to leave me open, I'm going to shoot a 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're not hesitating either. There is,
and then we have a couple of guys that really can shoot. Like Battle, it looks like Battle
No, Battle can shoot. Yeah, Battle can shoot. Ellis can shoot. Obviously you got guys like Pinion. I mean, Pinion can shoot. We'll see. We'll see what his role is going forward. I am interested to see
I need
like
him to do better. I want him to be. There's so many good players. I don't know how many minutes he's going to get.
Yeah, I mean, he is the Arkansas kid, right? And you're like, can you figure out a way blocker, to I think there's some givens like as he like Musa tries to figure out this rotation. Devo's gonna play, Mark's gonna play, Brazile's gonna play, Ellis is gonna play, Battle's gonna play. I think those five. Now you're gonna have another. Those are your 4 starters. Battle. I love Battle coming off the bench. By the way, that's so great. Like that, you're like get a guy. Devo gets a foul trouble. That's who you bring in.
No take coming
awesome.
off the bench, but that year he did.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then obviously you're gonna have another big guy, and who knows? Right now it's been Chandler Lawson, but Chandler Lawson played like he started again, dribbled the ball off his foot twice, 12 feet from the basket. Must yanked him and never played him again. Makai Mitchell played very little in this game. And
no, we were talking about that before. The dude that I hadn't seen before,
Harris. Yeah,
he came out. Well, first off, Fall came in, and he looked okay. And I mean, it was cool to see him out there, and see. I mean, he looked like a freak. But then Harris came in, and Harris played more.
Yeah,
kind of played out the game.
I think this was also the first time that Jalen Graham played, and Graham played well.
He had the power of that, Viking or Moses or whatever it was on his neck.
Yeah, he came back with new ink, so that's always good.
I need to know what that is on his who that's a representation of. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I need to see him in an interview. So if you look at it,
oops, sorry guys.
Oh, there it is. You got to mute that thing.
Yeah.
So Graham only played 14 minutes. Okay, he was 4 of 6. My guy's got to learn to shoot free throws. So you shoot free throws, dude. But he leads the team in rebounding. He has 8 rebounds, which Graham did not rebound the ball exceptionally well when he was. I mean, that was one of the problems with Graham last year. Was he was great on offense, but he didn't rebound well enough, and he didn't defend well enough. He actually held the back line pretty well, and he led the team with 8 rebounds, and he got 8 rebounds in 14 minutes. I mean, that's nice. So, yeah, I mean,
he tried to go coast to coast once or twice.
Yeah.
He has that thing where he starts dribbling and he gets, you can tell his intention is not necessarily to go coast to coast, but he gets at about the 3-point line. He's like, well, I guess I just got to Euro step around this one guy and I'll just take it all away. Didn't work out last night, but
yeah. So, I mean, does Graham have an opportunity to, is your back line Graham and Brazile? Can you start them? It's a sort of, I think they're kind of both 4s, but can that be your 4 and 5? Because Brazile can hold the back line. Like, he can do it.
I think Mitchell's going to play a lot of minutes. Not a lot. I mean, I think he's going to get 20 minutes a game when other teams have a
big physical post
bruiser.
Yeah.
He's still the best keep them from getting position guy. You know what I mean? Those guys are obviously jumpier. They might get more, high flying blocks, but although Mitchell does a good job of timing and getting blocks anyway, they're just not, at the top of the ball. They're when they're leaving your hands, but he's the best at keeping somebody from getting really good position and holding them out. Last night that team had nobody that could do that. So I think that's why he didn't hardly play.
But either way, I expect Graham to be in the rotation though.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. He's great. He's capable of putting up big points fast.
Yeah. So right there, if you're going through this, we've named, Musk is Musk going to play 10? I kind of doubt it. But I think
he might this year though.
He might. I think he's going to play 8 for sure. He's just got too many guys not to play 8. Is Blocker going to get minutes? I think Blocker's looked great. Blocker, I said this to you earlier too. Blocker is just freshman Devo.
He actually looks like Devo out there.
Yeah. I think Blocker's going to get not big minutes, but I expect to see Blocker out there between 5 and 8 minutes a game, give it just coming in for rest, just getting experience. Because Blocker seems like the kind of guy that Muss wants to keep around. Like that's a building block guy, right? Like he's very much like Devo. So he's not a dude you want to start thinking about like, well, I mean, I was pretty high rated recruit, man. I'm not getting any minutes, I don't know if Muss thinks that way or not, but Blocker does seem like the kind of player that Muss would want.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see. I mean, it makes sense to me. I know some guys like to play. They'd rather have their guys in the flow of the game, playing hard minutes, and only play 7, maybe 8 guys. But it does seem like for attrition, and if you're kind of hanging your hat on pressure defense, it's so nice to be able to have somebody. Because last year it was like if Devo came out, well, first off, he never came out. I mean, there were so many games where
in foul trouble.
There were so many games where he played all the minutes, and same thing with. I mean, there were several games where Council never came out, Black never came out. I mean, and if you have the ability to rest Devo, even just a couple of minutes a half, so he's fresher for the final rundown. I mean, it feels like that's just such a luxury because now you have guys that you can trust defensively. Before it was always like, well, there was just nobody else is going to defend on the point guard like that. And it appears that now everybody is maybe, obviously nobody's quite the same. Like Brazile, I really hope he stays healthy because every time he jumps and lands funny, I'm like, it's partially that he's thin
and like if you have high aspirations, which I do, if your expectations are pretty high, Brazile's a really important piece. Like that, someone like him losing someone like Brazile, like definitely tempers that.
But it does make you feel somewhat good that you have not like insurance behind him, but there's multiple players that they won't step in and take his place because they're not as versatile. But there's bodies that are behind him that can defend and stuff behind, you know what I mean? Like they might not put up the offensive production that he does, but at every position, you've got backups that aren't terrible options.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we didn't have that before.
Right. No, I just think, I think the team is obviously the deepest team that Muss has had.
Yeah. Last year we were basically like, can Graham play? Because that was like the only guy we had on the bench that you thought you could put in that could give you offense.
Yeah.
You know what
I mean? So I guess in closing, what it was interesting. Muss was talking in the press conference that he told the guys before the game like somebody is losing tonight. So it's opening night, a million games last night, and not very many good games. Like there was like no good games. But Muss said that he told the team somebody is losing tonight to somebody they're not supposed to lose to. Sure enough, that happened to Michigan State. Michigan State loses to, I don't know, I'm drawing a blank on who it was, but 4th ranked team in the country or whatever, they go down in their own gym to some team that they paid to be there, this kind of thing. And that is the truth, man. And so, yeah, it's a game that you're supposed to win. They won it the way they're supposed to win it, and better to do that than if you're a Michigan State fan right now, like that's not a fun conversation. And that is the truth. Like, Muss isn't being like Nostradamus when he says this. That's how it goes. Like somebody's going to get got tonight, and like let's make sure it's not us.
I mean, yeah, and like I said, it's early still, but you couldn't ask for much more. I mean, they've got shooting, they're scoring down low, they're doing high flying dunks, they're playing defense. I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for. I mean, they're the scoring. I was just looking at the. You got.
Well, they scored 93 points, dude. Like,
I mean, everybody got theirs, but it's still. I mean, it looks kind of like the other one where, everybody. There's just all kinds of scoring all over the place. There's 21 for Battle. Davenport had 3. Pinion had 7. Fall had 4. Blake had 1. Davis had 5. Mark had 16. Ellis had 8. Brazile had 13, and Lawson had 2. But I mean, that's just.
Yeah.
Scoring from everywhere. I mean, and those are, like I said, those are dunks, 3-pointers, mid-range, everything you want, So
who is the player of the game?
I mean, I guess it's Battle.
Yeah, seems like it. Yeah, I mean, you could. I thought Mark played really well. I mean, he was really efficient too. I thought Graham played really well. I mean, you could say it was Graham. Give me those 8 rebounds, 8 and 8, 8 points, 8 rebounds in 14 minutes.
Brazile obviously was like a good starting energy guy.
Dude, in the first half, what do you have, like 3 just insane dunks? I mean, he started the game
in the first like 5 minutes.
Well, the first 30 seconds, he comes like that. That is demoralizing. If you watch it at Bud Walton Arena and that happens to you, the first possession of the game, where
and then I mean, Battle had a
alley.
Well, wasn't it Battle that had a dunk too?
Yeah, got ooped.
Yeah, like, and then Ellis got a dunk.
Graham had like a monster dunk.
Yeah, I mean,
Pinion really wanted an alley-oop dunk. That was kind of funny. He was so upset. I thought he got hurt at first. He was hopping. Like, I was like, oh man, did you just land weird? No, he was just so mad that he didn't get the dunk.
Oh yeah. That I really want him to get more minutes. I feel like there's something in where you could take the dude from, it's just your opinion, man. And somebody needs to hold up a fathead poster of the dude's sign with his face on it or something that says, it's just your opinion, man. But anyway, we need more pinion puns, but he's just not going to get the minutes, I'm afraid, because there's just that position is just too many guys that are, I mean, I don't know if they're obviously not better shooters.
He did pull up from he hit the longest shot of the night. That's for sure. I mean, he pulled up from way out there.
I think it's just that every time he's in there, he's going to, and not that he doesn't try hard, but he's just not going to be as good on defense as whoever he's replacing. Yeah. And Muss is probably going to, especially with a team where you're not desperate for scoring. Yeah. Like last year, you could tell it was like,
we were so desperate for shooting that you were like, dude, put Pinion out there just to extend the defense.
Right. And now you don't need that. So you don't want to take any downgrade in defense if you can't, if you don't have to. But I don't know. I mean, there is a way, like if he starts getting real confident and shooting and making large volumes, that can still offset, what little difference there is maybe between you and a different defender. But anyway.
Well, right on. Well, dude, that went as well as possible. We'll be back Friday. So they play on Friday again. And we're going to have, the great thing about this schedule is we're going to have like real meaningful games
soon.
Very soon.
I heard him say last night, this is the first time in a long, like maybe ever, that we've had 6 games in November. We're going to have 6 games in November. Mm-hmm. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to be traveling in St. Louis, so we'll see. Hopefully we can get these episodes out after the games, but I might be in a hotel closet. So
we'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. By the way, we do this after every game, so subscribe. I should have said at the front end, but subscribe if you want to see these videos. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you after the next game.